I'm so glad that you're here joining me in this journey of Anand Sahib. Anand Sahib is all about how we feel the bliss of life that is available to every man, woman and child through spiritual awakening. And in this 7th episode, we're reminded about where true bliss comes from. The previous verse mentions that the only thing that we should be doing in life is to be having a true connection with the spiritual power of life. But in our daily life, there are so many things that we're connected to, so many things that we are drawn towards and attached to. So this is what Guruji is addressing in this verse. Guru starts by saying, "Bliss, bliss, everyone proclaims, but bliss is only known through the Guru. O beloveds, bliss is forever known through the Guru's grace. When graced, faults are cut away, and Guru places the eyeliner of wisdom. Those whose attachments have broken from within, through permanence their word is perfected. Says Nanak, this is bliss. Bliss is known through the Guru." So here we're being reminded that real bliss in life only comes through the Guru. Now remember, in the very first episode of Anand Sahib, we talked about what Guru actually is. We said that Guru is the essence of awareness, the essence of awakening to oneness itself. So what we're being taught here is that what is available to you, this Anand, this bliss, is an experience of bliss that is unlike anything else that you've ever had in your life before. You can't compare it to any other human experience that you've had. Whatever joys you think you've known, whatever triumphs you've had, whatever relationships, whatever connections you've made, none of those, no matter how joyful they've been in your life, come close to the experience of Anand that is really available, this true, deep, profound bliss that is being said is only available through the Guru. Now the question is your mind going to be receptive to this idea, or is your ego going to get defensive? If your ego doesn't resist this, and remember, look how the Guru is talking to us. The Guru is calling us beloveds. The Guru calls you my pyarya, my loved one. Please listen to this message, because nothing that you've known comes close to this true bliss that's available to you. And when you start to understand what is really available to you in life, some questions arise as to, what have I been doing with my life? Have I just been wasting my time pursuing pleasures all the time? Am I still lost in my attachments? Is there something more to life? And Guruji is trying to say that this is not just a worldly joy. This isn't just any old satisfaction, mental pleasure, bodily or sensory pleasure. This is a realized, awakened state. This is the bliss of enlightenment. And the Guru uses the word sada, everlasting, several times in Anand Sahib. This is this everlasting, eternal bliss that is beyond the body, beyond birth, beyond death itself. When you become one with that eternal truth, and remember, old Vedic knowledge has said that the eternal oneness has 3 qualities: Sat, Chit, Anand. This oneness is always present, it's constant, it is conscious, and it is content. It is Sat, Chit, Anand. When you connect with something that is everlasting, ever conscious, ever present, ever blissful, then you start to realize that its Anand is your Anand, because it is Sat Chit Anand. It is always blissful, and you can always be blissful as well. So you have to start realizing that you have available to you something that is far greater than anything that you've ever known. And the question is your mind ready to accept this bliss, this true bliss that's available only through the Guru? Only the Guru can deliver this. So how do you do it? Guru says time and time again, this is available to you by grace. And the obvious question that gets asked here, and it's so common to hear this, is, well, if it's all a blessing, do I just have to sit and wait? Is there nothing that I can do? And you have to realize that what is being presented here is something that is a gift to you. It's not something for you to achieve. It's not something for you to take. It is a huge blessing to be able to live a life that has been graced with this awakened way of thinking. So any glimpses that you've had of bliss in your spiritual journey, anything that you can say is an awakening that you've had, any realizations that you've had, these have not been earned by your ego. These have been gifted to you because the ego can't set the ego free. You cannot free yourself from yourself, and that's really what the bliss is, being free from the sense of self. So you have to understand that this is something that is beyond the ego. This is something that happens when the ego is set free. The one seeking enlightenment needs to disappear. Now take a moment to think about that. The one who you call me, that's convinced that I'm going on a spiritual journey, I am going to become realized, I am going to become enlightened, I am going to find God. That I am is the barrier to enlightenment. The I am, the me, is the enlightenment that is waiting to happen, but it can't happen to the I am. So the I am has to be set free. And you, when you start to realize and think in those ways, you realize I am can't free myself. I can't free me. When you are free, it is something that is a gift. It is something that happens by the way of the universe itself. How are you going to find a way to remove yourself? And when you start to realize this, you think that even listening to this wisdom is also not your doing. The very fact that you're listening to this wisdom is a grace that's happening to you. And each and every point of your journey is part of that grace, and every mistake that that happens in this journey, every time you fall off the path, you can't take credit for any of that. Each moment of your life, each moment of your awakening is nothing to do with you. And the biggest obstacle in life is where you continue to fall into this trap that I am doing something. I am the doer. Remember, the whole of Gurmat spiritual wisdom starts with this Mool Mantar, and in the Mool Mantar, it very clearly defines that this oneness is the doer of everything. It is the Karta Purkh. It's the being that's doing everything. You are doing absolutely nothing. In fact, you're not even here. The only problem is there is a delusion that you believe you are here. And when you believe you are here, you believe that you are the doer of things. You are not the doer of life. The oneness is the doer of life itself. Life is the doer, and it is doing you. It is pretending to be you. It is acting out you. How do we get to this? The next line Guruji says, Kar kirpa kilvik kate gyan anjan sarya. When the universe decides that this grace of realization is going to happen to you, to this body, to this mind, then all your faults are cut away, and the Guru places the eyeliner of wisdom, places the wisdom onto your eyes. What does it mean by the faults are going to be removed? What are these sins that are being removed? A lot of the time when we think about faults or sins, we think that the mistakes that we make are in the way that we think or in the way that we act. But we forget that there is the original sin, the ultimate sin. The only fault is that you believe you are. You believe that you are the individual, and that is not even your fault. That fault is also been something that's been given to you. That way of thinking is a natural occurrence that happens in the human, that the mind of the human being identifies with the body, and the mind creates a character called me. the ego, the I am. That's a natural thing that happens. But that is what is called the original sin, the original delusion of mankind, that you believe that you are now the knower of everything and you are the doer of anything. You are the controller of things. So it is the ignorance that is the fault that the Gurmat spiritual wisdom and all spiritual traditions are trying to get rid of. The ignorance that the mind identifies with itself, the mind identifies with the body, and it thinks that the aliveness that is inside you is its aliveness, rather than realizing the body belongs to the universe. It comes from the universe. Like, where did this body come from? Have you ever just sat back and thought about it? What is this body? Where has it come from? What is this mind? Where are these thoughts coming from? What is the voice that's inside my head? What is the awareness that I have within me? Where is all this coming from? And the mind that is unconscious, that doesn't think about these things, puts a very crude label on all of this stuff and says, all of this is mine. I am the owner of all this stuff. And that little thing is a natural occurrence. And when you start to listen to the Guru's wisdom, slowly you start washing away that false delusion that I am, and you start to realize that everything belongs to the oneness. The body belongs to oneness, the mind belongs to oneness, the awareness inside me belongs to oneness, and everything around it is also that oneness. And we don't think about our life in this way. We think about our life in terms of whether I'm a man or a woman, whether I am a father or a mother, or whether I have this job or this responsibility, whether I have work to do, or whether I've got school or studies to attend to. We think about ourselves in all of these sort of smaller roles, and then the character that we choose to identify with then has a whole bunch of problems that we just spend the rest of our life trying to fix the problems of this fake character. And the Guru is saying, don't fix the problems of the character, fix the character itself, fix the ultimate problem. And this is what Guruji is saying, that is the ultimate kilvik, is this habitual misidentifying or misrepresenting yourself and identifying yourself as this individual. You constantly forget that you are not you. This is all the story of life. And the more that you hear this wisdom, the more that you read about it, the more that you surround yourself with this wisdom, you could even say things like, I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am a soul. But as soon as you say, I am the soul, you've still identified with something. You've still said, I am a soul, I am a spirit, rather than realizing everything belongs to the universal soul, nothing belongs to me. So we have to be careful not to fall into the traps of misidentifying yourself with something. As long as there is a yourself, then that divine realization never happens. There's a beautiful line that I always remember from Gurbani that says, Jab hum hote tab tu nahi. When I existed, then you did not exist. It talks about me, the ego, I am. When the ego is there, the oneness is not there. Jab hum hote tab tu nahi. Ab tu hi main nahi. Now that you are there, I am no longer there. And so this is the ultimate distinction between the individual misguided mind and the universal aware, fully realized mind. And we have to understand, where are we in this game? Most of us are in what the Guru describes as the manmukh state, the misidentified state, the self-identified, the one that thinks about the mind as itself. The manmukh, you are mind-facing. The enlightened has been described as gurmukh, the one that is enlightenment-facing, the enlightened one, the one with the enlightened face rather than the self-reflecting face. So how does any of this stuff happen? The Guru keeps using this word kirpa, grace. Remembering is a grace. Even realizing this is a grace. Even hearing this is a grace. It's nothing to do with you. It's not your effort. It's the Guru's grace. And this is a theme that you're going to keep hearing about throughout Guru Granth Sahib, and certainly the rest of Anand Sahib is all about, you are not responsible for your enlightenment. You are not responsible for your misenlightenment, for your delusion and stay in that way of thinking that you are nothing. Nothing is happening to you. All of this is the divine play itself. When you start seeing this, and this becomes a clarity, Guru has described it as though this wisdom that's been placed in front of your eyes, it's like the eyeliner. It's like the lens that the Guru has placed in front of you so that you can see the world clearly. So this is what the word anjan has been used. Guru applies the right wisdom to your eyes so that you can look at life properly. I like to think about this example of the Guru being like night vision goggles. So without that, you're in a dark room or you're walking around in darkness and you have no way to see. The only thing that changes when the Guru gives you the right way of thinking is that he gives you these night vision goggles that you can see clearly. Even though everyone else is in darkness, you are able to see. So remember, the darkness is the sense of self. I am me. I am myself. The Guru is the one that delivers you from darkness to light, from individuality to universality, from the me to the not me. There's a beautiful line in Guru Granth Sahib Ji where Guru says, Gur kirpa jeh nar ko kini, teh eh jugat pachani. Nanak leen payo gobind syo, jyo pani sang pani. That man, blessed by the Guru's grace, understands this way. That human being who's been blessed by the Guru knows this to be the way. O Nanak, he merges with the Lord of the universe like water merges with water. So the Guru gives you the blessing to make you merge back into the ocean itself. The Guru makes the wave understand that the wave has always been the ocean. As long as you believe you are the wave, you believe you are separate from the ocean. And if you go on a spiritual journey trying to find the ocean, the only way to find it is to realize that you are the ocean. Once the wave realizes and identifies itself as not the individual wave, that it is in fact the ocean pretending to be the wave, it moves from its limited form into its unlimited form. It moves from suffering to bliss. This becomes your only experience. Your only experience is the universe is acting as me. The universe is acting out the role of this body. Now the question you have to ask yourself is, are you willing to let yourself go? Are you willing to let go of the delusion that you are an individual? Is the wave willing to become the ocean, or does the wave like the idea of staying as the wave? That's the question that you have to ask yourself, because what's available to you is you're not going to be experiencing yourself as an individual wave, and that's what's really comfortable to you. You're comfortable being in yourself. The ego is comfortable remaining as it is. And the question you have to ask yourself is, does the wave want to see what it feels like to be the entire ocean? Do you want to see what it feels like to be the entire universe? Or are you comfortable being this individual ego? Because as long as you're the individual ego, you're going to suffer all the problems of the individual ego. You're not going to experience what's available to every human being. So how do we do this? How do we let go of ourselves? How do we say, yes, I'm in. I want to move into this expression of the whole universe acting out itself in every different role? Guru goes on to say, Andro jinka moh tutta, tinka shabad sache savarya. Those whose attachments have broken from within, through permanence, their word is perfected. What does that mean? Guruji brings back this idea. What is stopping the wave from identifying as the ocean? It is its attachment. What are you attached to? Guruji is reminding us here that darkness to light is attachments. The darkness is that you are attached to the idea of me. The wave likes the wave. It doesn't actually want to be the ocean. No matter how much it fools itself into thinking that it is on a spiritual journey to find the ocean, it actually wants to stay as the wave with just access to the ocean. And this is what we are capable of doing in our spiritual journeys, the mistake that we could be making if we don't fully understand what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. We need to be careful of our attachments, not just our attachments to sensory pleasures and worldly pleasures and our families and our jobs. You know, most of us are just attached to our life as it is. Most of us just want life to stay exactly as it is. And we think, as long as life stays pretty much like this and I can get a few more things, I'm happy. But Guruji is saying, this is not real happiness. This is a pretend happiness. This is the prisoner saying, I'm happy being in prison. And the Guru is saying, I have a way out. You have a way out. You have the way to be set free from this prison. But you might be so resistant to being free. You might be so comfortable in the prison that even in the prison of your own self, you can delude yourself into thinking that I'm trying to go free. And Guru's saying, no, you're not. You're not really trying. You really have to be free out of this prison. So, how does Guru achieve this inconceivable task of helping us not identify with the body? What is the Guru trying to do? The Guru says, well, first let's look at your attachments. Let's break your internal bonds, your bondage, your associations. And what do we call associations? Things that we identify with, things that we call as mine. Something that you call mine, that's what Guru says, let's break those. And Guru uses a very interesting word, andron jinka moh tutta, the one who breaks internal attachments. And this is something that we need to unpack and understand. It's actually quite easy to break your external bondages. It's quite easy to break your external associations. Many people on a spiritual path convince themselves that they are progressing spiritually because they've made certain changes in their life. They've no longer associate with the old friends. I used to call these people my friends, but I no longer call them my friends. I used to enjoy these foods. I no longer enjoy these foods. I used to listen to certain kinds of music, and now I'm listening to spiritual music. I used to wear worldly fashionable clothes, and now I wear spiritual clothes. I used to go to these places, now I attend spiritual places. I used to do certain actions, now I do spiritual actions. When you do all of these things and you change so many different aspects of your life, you think, look at all these associations that I've broken. Look at all these attachments that I've become free from. I'm now detached from all these things. But Guru has said the internal attachment hasn't even started to be broken yet. So what is our internal attachment? Our attachment to what you call yours. We call this body mine. No matter what you make your body do, if you still think the body is yours, then that's an internal attachment. No matter what words come out of your mouth, if you still think these thoughts are my thoughts, then it doesn't matter how holy you sound with your words if the thoughts are still held with this idea that these are my thoughts. No matter, even if you do spiritual things and you've broken your ties with your friends and your families and say they're no longer spiritual, I'm no longer part of that community, but you still have memories of the past and say these are my memories. This is something I did in my past. These are some of my aspirations and hopes for the future. There's still a me there. So we have to realize that our biggest attachment is to ourself. And ultimately, self-preservation is something that we don't address. And our highest goal is always self-preservation. I need to remain here. I might change a whole bunch of stuff in my life, but I need to remain here. Self-preservation is what Guru is saying. That's the biggest attachment that the Guru is going to help you try and break. So the Guru's wisdom acts like a knife that cuts that ultimate bond that we have. So it's important to understand these concepts, but sometimes I like to think about simple examples that really help to cement these ideas in our minds. And the example that I like about how we look at our attachments in life is if you've ever been on holiday and rented a car, you know, right at the beginning, the person who's renting the car out to you has a list and they're going around and checking all the dents, and they show you these are all the things, this is the condition of the car now, and when you return it back after a week or 2 weeks of your holiday, we expect that there are no dents and no bumps. Think about how you drive that car. You drive that car so much more carefully, knowing that it's on rent, and if I don't hand it back in one piece, I'm going to lose my deposit or I'm going to have to pay a big fine. So the way that you treat that car is knowing full well that this car does not belong to me. I am not the owner of this. I am simply borrowing it for a short period of time. And this is how we need to think about our entire life. We need to think about our bodies, our families, our homes, our jobs, our lives, our circumstances, our problems as nothing that we are the owner of. And when you realize that you're not the owner of things, the entire mindset is always, this is going to be returned. This has to be given back. And when we start to understand that we are renting this body, then this body no longer becomes something that we can hold on to, because it's clear from the beginning that this body has to be given back. And when we start understanding that, we start the process of detaching ourselves from the body, detaching ourselves from our families. My family has to be given back. My friends have to be given back. This entire life that I've created for myself has to be given away. And every single one of those things in your life will be taken away. It's not a if. It's not a question of maybe it'll happen. These are definitely going to happen. So you need to become more and more comfortable now knowing that these things are going to be given back, and how then you interact with life starts to change. Now, this is the wisdom that the Guru reminds you of every day. And this is why in the Gurmat spiritual tradition, there's so much importance being placed on reading this wisdom on a daily basis, so that you are constantly remembering, this is what my life is all about, is giving up this sense of me. All of this stuff has to be given back. So start to notice your behaviors, start to notice your attachments to pleasures, start to notice how you spend your life chasing these things. And then when we change our thinking, notice if that starts to make a difference, if you are having a different interaction with life itself. And a question that you really have to think about is, does this mean that I'm not allowed any pleasures? Does it mean that I'm not allowed to enjoy my favorite food, or have music that I listen to, or enjoy movies that I like to watch? And this is really not the thing that we need to get hung up on. Nobody is telling you that you're not allowed to do any of these things, because if you stopped doing all those things, remember what would happen is that you would then convince yourself, I'm spiritual because I no longer do these actions. And the Guru is constantly reminding us, it's not about what actions you change, it's the one doing the actions that has to change. The sense of self has to be freed. So it's not about renouncing the world and becoming a monk and living in a cave. That's not what life is about. And that's not what the spiritual wisdom is about. It's about, how do you be the monk in the cave of your own being? How do you live like a monk in the world? In Guru Granth Sahib Ji on Ang number 522, there's a beautiful line that says, Nanak Satgur Petiye Puri Hove Jukt, Hasandeya Khelandeya Painandeya Khavandeya Viche Hove Mukt. O Nanak, meeting the true Guru, one comes to know the perfect way. While laughing, playing, dressing, and eating, he remains liberated. So, Guru Nanak's spiritual tradition is not one where you have to stop doing the worldly things. Guru actively is saying, while you're laughing and while you're playing in the world and while you're dressing up in nice clothes and while you're eating nice things, if you have the wisdom of the Guru, you can be detached from all these things. So it's not about giving these things away, it's about giving them away in your mind. It's not about renouncing the world, it's about being detached from the world and enjoying it at the same time. Enjoy what you have, but treat everything as though it's on rent. Treat everything as though you're only there for a short amount of time. Your association with it is short-lived. Enjoy it, knowing it to be a gift, knowing it to be a grace that you get to enjoy these things, but also knowing that the enjoyer, the one within you, is also that divine oneness itself. It is also that oneness enjoying the gifts of its own creation. So, how do you know that this is actually happening in your life? How do you know that these attachments are really being broken? Because we've pointed out that it's possible to be fooling yourself, deluding yourself, and thinking that you're breaking your attachments. How you know that your detachment is working is that you are willing to lose everything now. When you know that you are willing for all of this that will eventually be given back, you know that you're willing for it to be given back now, at this moment. The rental car needs to be given away right now. When you're willing to let go, then you've understood that I have no attachment towards these things. I have no attachment towards these things because I have no attachment towards myself. I know that even me can be given up at any point. So make this your live. Remember in the last verse we heard about this live, this connection. Make this your connection, this loving connection to this understanding all the time, that your gifts can be taken away at any time. And are you comfortable with that? The more comfortable you are with letting go of things, knowing that at any moment they can be taken away, when you realize I'm willing for all of this to be given up at every moment, at this moment, then you can start to realize that these things that the Guru is teaching you are actually starting to have an impact on your life. And we have to remind ourselves that at any point in our spiritual journey, we may not give ourselves an excuse that says that I am going to be rewarded for being like this. Sometimes you do all of these spiritual things thinking that there's a reward coming at the end. I'm going to give up all these things so that I can get the ultimate thing. So let's not even make receiving bliss as the reward that your ego is trying to hold on to. The bliss that comes to you is even not your bliss. It is the bliss of the divine. The bliss of the ocean isn't what the wave is asking for. The wave simply dissolves back into the ocean, and so the ocean experiences the bliss that it always had. The wave cannot experience the bliss of the ocean. The wave can simply become the ocean and be in bliss as the ocean has always been. So again, let's not be getting ourselves trapped into another attachment. And when all of these things happen, Guruji says that their word becomes perfected. Shabad Sache Savarya. What does it mean that the word is perfected? Guru says that when your understanding has been so refined, then the way you speak changes. What you speak about changes, how you speak changes, and the one doing the speaking also changes. The Guru has transformed how you speak with the world, how you interact from the perspective not of the ego, but from the perspective of ultimate truth itself. So the Guru has transformed your identity away from the individual to the universal, to the divine self. So when we have broken the bonds of this, then we're now looking at the world through the divine lens. All our bonds have been broken. Our eyes become enlightened. We're seeing through God's eyes. Our eyes become God's eyes. Our words become God's words. Our mind becomes God's thinking. Our ears become God's listening. So when we realize that we, the individual I, is no longer there, then the permanent oneness is the one acting out all of these things. So this is what the Guru means, that your words become different. Your very interaction with life becomes different because the one viewing life, the one engaging with life is completely different. It is the permanent being viewing the impermanent drama of the world. So we hear this line in Japji Sahib right at the beginning where Guruji talks about how Nanak hukme je bujhe ta haume kahe na koi. Guru Nanak says that one who truly understands the hukam, the system of the universe, they do not speak through their own individual identity. They don't speak out of individuality. So everything starts to change. Every part of our life becomes a new way of dealing with the world. Guru Nanak Dev Ji says, Jo mange Thakur apne te soi soi deva. That somebody who is in this state, whatever they say, that's the truth. That's the ultimate truth that happens in life. Jo mange Thakur apne te soi soi deva. Whatever I request for at that state, the universe has to give. Because I am not in my individual sense asking the universe for gifts. I am the universe asking the universe, so the universe has to respond. Nanak das mukte jo bole ihan uhan sach hove. Nanak says, such a liberated person, what they say, whatever comes out of their mouth, that is the ultimate truth itself. That becomes the ultimate truth. So this is the experience of the enlightened master. And this 7th verse, Guruji says, Kehe Nanak, eh anand hai, anand gurte janya. Guru Nanak Dev Ji reiterates this point for the 3rd time in this verse, that true bliss only comes from the Guru, and the Guru cuts away your bonds. So we understand, we're being reminded now that what Anand Sahib is really talking about. Anand Sahib talks about a bliss at the highest level that any human being has ever experienced. This is the highest form of bliss that has ever been experienced by a human being. It is the enlightened bliss, the bliss of the enlightened human being. So we're now getting some absolute clarity here that the reason people like you and me are not experiencing this bliss is because of our attachments. Our attachments cause us misery. Our attachments cause us suffering. And the Anand is when we break our misery and suffering by breaking our attachments. So we need to understand what the Anand Sahib is really talking about, because those of you who are familiar with the Sikh tradition will have heard this Anand Sahib thousands of times. It's probably the one Shabad that we hear more than anything else, and we sing it for all sorts of occasions, during births and during celebrations and all sorts of occasions in our life. We go to the Gurdwara and we sing this Anand Sahib, and we also sing it because we're celebrating worldly triumphs. But the Guru is trying to remind you that if you listen to the words here, the Anand of this is something that is far greater than any other human experience available to you. Answer these questions by either writing them down or discussing them in your groups. What are some of your greatest attachments? How can you be detached yet still engage with the world? How does the idea of Guru's grace make you feel? What would you describe as blissful in your own life?